Hello and welcome back to the weekend update of what I consumed outside of books and maybe a little talk about books this past weekend. So for my weekend update, we only watched 2.5 movies, which is way less than normal. Some weeks it's like 4 or 5 or 6, but this weekend we had Pokemon GoFest, Jersey City. So if you're in the Northeast area, if you were at GoFest, we went on the Saturday. We did the park experience at Liberty State Park on Saturday morning. Had a great time despite a little bit of rain here and there with the weather, but it was great being out in the park, getting our crown forms, Zacian and Zamazenta. Super fun playing Pokemon Go with hundreds, maybe thousands of other people. And then the afternoon experience, we had City Play. So we were back over the river, back in Midtown, mainly exploring Bryant Park and Midtown area before heading back home. So a great time on Saturday, but I guess it did cut a little bit into the movie watching queue. But to start off this weekend, we watched The Accountant Squared, The Accountant 2 on Friday, which sort of suffered from sequelitis, I guess. The first movie was decent enough about like the mob's accountant, so an accountant with skills. It was kind of an everyman who's secretly a killer, kind of like a John Wick-esque. This everyday seems like he's a normal person, but he's actually a seasoned assassin and killer. That's kind of what the accountant promises and delivers. And in the second one, I guess we go further into the lore of the accountant and we go a little bit more into his character. We meet his brother, the Punisher. So this movie is more like a buddy cop film with the brother, and you get that like family dynamic, and it didn't really work as much for me. I mean, their interactions were great, but I didn't really like the character of, he was in it for his brother, and he has this like brother complex. It tried to mix in a little humor with the cat jokes, which of course I love cats, but yeah, it just didn't land as well. It was sort of a mediocre movie. The action scenes were decent enough. I mean, at least it does deliver on that. Decent gunfights and action and violence that you expect from The Accountant Squared 2. Overall, it was all right. Next, after we watched The Accountant on Saturday, coming back from GoFest, we did finish up another movie, and that was Forbidden Fairytale from South Korea. And this is sort of a romantic comedy, but in that it kind of gave vibes to like early 2000s, like the raunchy comedies. So it's kind of, the premise is funny and the trailers made it look really funny, which is why we gave it a shot. It's about a female author who writes fairy tales in her spare time, but then due to kind of corporate layoffs and restructuring, she ends up starting a new job where she reviews erotic content for the government. And it's kind of that wacky scenario where she thought she was getting a government job, but it's actually like a content moderation job. And then she starts writing erotic like fan fiction on the web, like a webtoons, but instead of a comic, it's written like stories. So she's like an erotic writer by day / an erotic reviewer by day. And then at night, she also is trying to reconcile her dream of being a fairy tale author, just like her father. So it has some of those like stereotypical, I guess you could say, South Korean tropes of a romantic comedy. There's a love interest, there's like a rivalry, and it all kind of resolves nicely with kind of the main story being follow your dreams. And she eventually kind of, she does follow her dreams at the end, and everything sort of kind of works out at the end, like a, just general romantic comedy. So again, it was all right. It delivered on what it promised, kind of this stereotypical South Korean romantic comedy pop film. It didn't lean too much into kind of the raunchy humor or the romantic comedy side. So it kind of played that balance. Overall, it was all right. It wasn't the favorite of the year. It wasn't super funny. It wasn't super bad either. And then on Sunday, we got halfway through the movie that I think was the winner of the weekend, but we only finished half of it. And that was 11 Rebels, the Japanese film that recently came out. And again, based on the trailers sell it as return to form of the golden age of samurai films. And the first half was, honestly really good. Lots of action, lots of blood, lots of samurai kind of battles, and again, leaning into a bit of a trope. It's based on I think a true story, or at least an ancient tale of this group of rebels, hence the name, but they used, at least in the subtitles, a suicide squad. So yes, they're a group of criminals that get recruited to defend this fortress. So these misfit criminals have to take on a noble task in order to earn their pardon. Kind of a bit cliche of a story, but that's kind of the motivation of this group of different criminals working together to fend off an oncoming army. And so of course they're criminals, so they have a bit of a bloodlust and a lot of action. That, and yeah, so far really great, but I'll save like the full review of 11 Rebels till next week, I guess. And since I was short on the movies, maybe to talk a bit about other media we're consuming. So we're also in the middle of watching, as far as TV series, Murderbot. So we're on episode 5 of Murderbot. Still great. Still enjoying every week. Love that it's, following the story and seeing the characters come to life. It's still, I thought they might get through the first novella, All Systems Red, which the only one I've read so far, but it seems like it is going to take the whole first season to get through All Systems Red, which is good. They're taking their time to develop the characters and flesh out the plot and not speed running it, even though yes, it was a short book. They're taking their time. The whole season I think is going to be all for All Systems Red. Besides that, that's really all we're watching at the moment. Waiting for kind of summer anime to start. Nothing really in anime other than Gundam GQX, which is, it's all right. Reminds me a lot of Witch from Mercury. I saw Foundation is coming back, speaking of Apple TV stuff, so looking to get back into Foundation. And then switching gears from visual media to maybe a slightly other visual media for a reading update that's not books. Right now, the only manga that I'm reading is Genshiken, which is pretty funny. It's pretty good so far. I picked up the first omnibus of Genshiken, which is about like basically otaku culture. So, hey, it resonates well. I identify with the characters. That it's a group of characters that are part of the Genshiken Club, which is not the anime club, not the manga club. They're a study of modern visual culture, so it kind of blends a bit of all things otaku, all things geeky. It's got the anime fans, they cosplay, they play video games, they read manga, they go to conventions. So it's got like a little bit of everything that like a nerdy person would be into. So I like that kind of doesn't lean into just one club type, but it's that high school finding themselves, and it's just mainly the cast of characters. Yeah, that's what makes it great. I love the characters. They're all pretty funny and lovable, especially, of course, blanking on the names, but the female lead who is dating the really good looking otaku guy he's really aloof. So she's like the normie of the group, and her like playing off of the other characters who are super nerds, super otaku, and she's the normal person trying to fit in. Yeah, it's been great so far. I think I'm on the second volume where she becomes an official member, and yeah, I really enjoyed Genshiken. It's pretty fun, pretty funny. It's a nice lighthearted break. And speaking of breaks, to shift into what I am reading, I'm also in a reading rut, I guess you could say, and looking for something to break that mold, which is my segue into this, because the last book I read was just not that great. So I just finished last week Hammajang Luck, which due to the social media campaign, I saw it everywhere. I saw it on Goodreads list, and when I was reading through Goodreads list, apparently I think it was part of a book club, like one of the book's subscription services. So I think that's how it got a wide distribution. But yeah, it's a book. It's obviously got decent reviews, so it does have a target audience. Just I am not that target audience, and I found it rather mediocre, and I kind of forced myself to just finish it because I thought maybe it'd redeem itself towards the end, because the premise sounds okay. It's Ocean's 8 meets Blade Runner, so it's like a space heist. That sounds up my alley. It reminds me a bit of The Stardust Grail by Yume Kitase, which I recently read, which was again all right, but this one leans less into the sci-fi and more into the character relationships, which I think is where it didn't hit for me. It wasn't like sci-fi enough. It wasn't adventure-y enough. It was leaning more into that Ocean's 8 dynamic of its all-female kind of cast of characters, criminals doing the heist. And I'll save it for review, but it was mediocre for me. And then what I'm currently reading, I'm about 52% as of today, as of Monday, through Anji Kills a King, which again, put a hold on it through the library because of social media pressure. I see it promoted a lot. Whoever the actual publisher is, they're doing a decent social media campaign because I see it everywhere. And again, based on the premise, the blurb, it's for fans of Joe Abercrombie, which again, I'm coming off the high of Before They're Hanged, and it doesn't really live up to Joe Abercrombie's writing, but I guess I could see a bit of the style where it's she's an apprentice and it's a bit of a slightly magical but not too magical, kind of like The Blade itself. First All trilogy, how it's a little bit magical, but it's just not hitting me with the writing, the characters, and they're just on this trip and they just keep going and meeting, and it's also so, but I'm only 52%, so I'm going to try and finish it this week and at least hopefully get it redeemed itself. Spoiler alert, I was reading the reviews to see if am I alone in this feeling for Anji Kills the King, and apparently the ending has a twist ending, so I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to push ahead to that. But in the meantime, when I finish that, hopefully, if none of my other review or holds come through, which nothing at the moment, I'm looking to, I guess, cleanse the palate. I've got Cradle to read. So with the Audible sale, like, can't pass up Cradle for like $1. So I picked up the last couple of Cradle volumes that I'm missing. So I'm on at book 9. I just finished book 8, Wintersteel. So I'm going to wrap up Cradle. And those are good, again, short, action-oriented, almost like an anime because there's fights and action and plot. So I think Cradle might be my palate cleanser before I get back into whatever hold I have through the library and get on to my next epic fantasy or sci-fi book. But thanks for watching this quick review of not that many movies this week, but to share some other things I've been into and reading and consuming kind of in the story front of sci-fi, fantasy, geek, otaku culture. Thanks for watching and look forward to the next actual review of a book. This week I did publish a nonfiction book, but I have a couple of nonfiction books also in my library queue, so I might read those before some epic fantasy as well. So thanks for watching and have a great day.